Hello, I'm Nina and I'm going to take you through how to make a dormouse in Applique and Stitch. So the first thing we're going to do is look at our materials. So here I've got some old pieces of blanket which I found in the charity shop. You can also use felt or any natural material is great for this. And you're going to need some tan colours, some creamy sort of colour to do the belly area and some pink for his little nose and feet and his ear. You're going to need a pen. That's to just draw the template onto the fabric. We're going to use some pins if you've got them. That will just hold some of these pieces in place while we're stitching. We're looking for a darning needle. So this is a needle that will take some wool. So it's a slightly bigger needle. I've got some different colour threads here. These are all wool, and this is going to be what we'll use to do some of our stitching onto our dormouse to make him look like he's got fur and hair. We're also going to need a small sewing needle. So this is for cotton and a little bit of black thread. That's going to be for his whiskers. I've got scissors here, fabric scissors, and I've also got paper scissors to cut out the template. So here's the template, and when the pieces come out, they do look rather odd in their shapes. So we've got, this one is going to be for the main body, and that's going to be in a brown or a tan colour. But we've also got some smaller pieces on there, which I keep in a bag only because they are very small, and so they can easily get lost on your working table. So we've got the main shape of your dormouse. That's the main body there that I've cut out. You've also got this lovely piece here that's the cream piece, and that's going to be for his belly. So that's that piece there. And you've got some little pieces, 4 little pieces, and we've got feet, nose and ear. And those are going to be in the pink fabric. So what I'm going to do is just show you how to transfer your template onto your fabric. So this is going to be my main colour of my dormouse. And I'm going to lay on the dormouse body with his tail. And I'm going to put that flat onto the fabric. And I'm just going to mark around onto my blanket fabric. So you can also use a felt or a cotton, anything, as long as it's in the right colour. Wool is brilliant for this. Wool is an amazing material, and I like to use wool because also the wool will give you a bit of that furriness, the hairiness that you get on a dormouse. So if you can just see there, I've drawn my outline onto the fabric. I'm going to take my fabric scissors and I'm just going to cut that out. So just following the line along. Got nice sharp fabric scissors help. If you haven't got fabric scissors, other scissors are fine. It just means that sometimes it's a little more hard to cut the shape out. So the dormouse, as it curls round, it has a tail that sort of tucks in by its head. So I'm just cutting around that now. And then what I'm going to do, to make that space in between, I'm going to cut down past his little tail here to cut this space out. So I just go down into there and gently cut round that little shape. And that will give him the start of his belly and the corner of his head there. And as you can see, there are some marks still on the blanket, but that's why I turn my template over and drew it from the back. So when I go back to this way, then you can't see any of the lines. So you follow the same steps for the next process. We're going to use the nice creamy material for his belly. And we're going to cut that one out. exactly the same as we did before, and lay that on. And it starts to look quite abstract. But once we get some feet in there as well, it'll start to look more like a dormouse. So I'm going to position that. You can keep referring back to the original drawing as well on your template. And if you look at that original drawing, you'll see the creamy belly shape is here and his feet are over the top. So you can just place your pieces on. And once you're happy with the position, you can pin this into place. And I'm just going to use a couple of sewing pins. If you don't have pins, you could just go straight in now with your needle and sew it into place, or even tack it into place with a couple of stitches. I'm just going to hold this on and I'm just putting a pin through there. All right, so there's his belly coming along. And then we can add on the funny shaped pieces, which are his feet and nose and ear. And on the template, you can use this laid on to your template, and that will give you the spacing as well for your feet. So they're funny little shapes at this point. We lay them on. He's got a little nose and his ear. Once you're happy with the position, you can pin these into place as well. So it's a little bit fiddly where these pieces are so small, but I'm hoping you can start to see that the shape of it is coming together and it's starting to look more like our finished dormouse will. So what we need to do now is stitch those pieces into place. And I'm going to use the darning needle for this because I've got this wool. So all of these wools I found in the charity shop. And you can usually find wool in the charity shop. And they were kind of in small bundles like this. And that's perfect. You don't need much for this project. So we'll take a piece of this wool. I'm going to thread it into the needle. And you can use a needle threader if you want to. And you thread it through the eye of the needle, pull that through. It's always best if you can to put a knot in the other end. I like to do a double knot. There we go. And that means that you can just keep going until you hit that knot. So what we're going to do is secure these pieces down. So I'm going to do the belly piece first. So I'm coming up from underneath. I'm going to go through both parts of the blanket. So I'm going through the body piece and through the belly. And I've come all the way through to the front. So we've come up through there. We're going to go back down through quite close. So we've just got a little stitch nearby. And we're doing the same thing all the way round. So from the back, you'll just see some larger stitches, and from the front, we've just got little stitches. And what's wonderful about wool is it's nice and soft. It's easy to get the needle through. It's a lovely material to work with. All right. So I can remove a couple of my pins now because that's held in place by the stitches. And the other wonderful about wool, especially this fleecy type material, this felt that's been made, is that it's got a hairiness to it. And so you can almost use your needle or even your finger sometimes just to pull these fibres. And that will start to give those edges. So instead of having such a hard edge that's been cut, it's giving us a nice soft edge. Okay, so we'll tie that one off at the back and we'll move on to the next colour. Okay. So we're going to work on his feet, nose and ear now. So I've got this pink colour from the charity shop and I'll just take a small piece of that Again, I'm going to thread the darning needle. So I'll take this wool off. We'll definitely be using those bits later as we put some more stitches in to give the furriness of our dormouse. So again, threading up this darning needle. There we are. And tying a knot again in the end. So I'm hoping after doing that belly part where it's a larger area, you'll feel a bit more confident about doing the smaller parts now. So we're going to start on one of the feet. We're going to do exactly the same as what we've done here. We're just going to come up from underneath, some small stitches down through the foot around the outside. And then we can then go back in. And on here, you'll see I've just given him a few stitches just to give the idea of those toes, because they have the cutest little toes. So we just do a few lines to give that impression. So for now, let's go up through. So we've got our pin in place, and I'm going to go up through the body and up through the foot and come out to the front, pulling all the way through again to the knot at the back and down into the blankets again, quite close by, so that we're just creating a little stitch. There we go, okay? So you will see it, and I think it adds to the quality of the piece. So when you're happy with that, I'll show you, I'm hoping you can see. So we've got nice little stitches around the outside of that foot, and I'm just going to put a couple of stitches into here to give the idea of those toes. There we go. And that just starts to give the idea that he's got little toes. Okay, so I'll finish that one off at the back, just in a knot, and then we'll carry on with the next one. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to do those little stitches like we've done before, and you're going to use the same process for each of those pink areas. So that's all the pink pieces stitched in place. I'm going to finish that one off at the back. So just looking at our dormouse here, I've put some darker brown into his ear to create that fold, and also I've used it underneath his chin to create the shape of his face and a little bit of his leg. Because dormouse, when they're sleeping like that, they're very sort of scrunched up almost. So this is just to give an impression that there is a leg there, and that's where the head is. So we'll put those stitches in now. So we'll take some of this darker tan wool. And again, we're going to use the darning needle. So I'll put some very simple stitches into his ear, just to give the impression that there's a fold in the centre there. And I suppose the other way, if at any point you go wrong or you're not happy with something, then you can just unpick your stitches and replace things and start again. So that's into his little ear like so. So to get the line for the under the chin and for the leg, you can always refer back to your original template, and that will help you to see where you might want those stitches to be. So you can use a pen or a pencil for this. You see, lining up his nose. It's just going to give us an idea of where that just curves round for his face. and also for his leg. I'm just going to take this up from underneath. So we're just going to do a long stitch, almost like a running stitch. All right, so that just starts to give us the idea that he's got a chin. Okay, and then I'm going to jump down a bit to the leg. So it's the same thing. We're just going to use running stitches. Okay, hopefully you can see it's starting to take shape. Okay, one of the big things that makes any species come alive is the eyes. So let's pop the eyes in now. So again, you can refer to your original template. So I'm going to take some black yarn, and yarn is made out of ply. I think this is a 3-ply. So I'm just separating the wool strands. The reason why I'm doing this is the eye is quite delicate, and if I used the wool as it is, it would be quite heavy. So I'm just going to take that. So you can see the difference. So that's the original one, and that's where I've extracted one of the pieces from the ply. So we're going to thread that one up, and that will be a better weight to do those little eyes. It's just one little stitch for his eye. And then I'm just popping the other eye in there. So this one has more of a curve to it, so you're going to need a few little stitches. So there we are. His little eyes. And the other thing that will help to bring him to life is his whiskers. Now for that I'm using cotton thread, so just a thin piece of thread. So I need a smaller needle for that one. This needle would be too big for the thread. So again, we're just going to come up through. If you want to, you can draw this on first, or you can just go straight in. So I'm just going to give him a few little whiskers. So I'm just putting in quite large stitches, long stitches. But where this thread is so fine, it's making a nice sort of weight of whisker for our dormouse. So he's coming to life. Lovely. So what we need now for our little dormouse is some more stitches that are going to give the impression that he's furry. So using the 2 colours of thread that we've been using before, the lighter brown and the tan brown, we're going to put a few stitches in. And obviously the more stitches that you put in, the more sort of you'll get the impression of the hair. So we've got our needle threaded with our yarn, and we're just going to use it as we have before and just add some stitches in the direction that the hair would be going. So often the hair on the face, comes down through here, and often on the leg it's kind of coming up and round. So if you stitch in those directions on the tail, often it will bush, it will grow this way and it will bush up through. So if you add stitches until you think you're happy. Once you're happy with all your stitches and you're happy with your finished dormouse, you can always give him a background. So here I've got another piece of blanket felted material that I've just cut a circle out of, and I've started to sew it down onto the background. So you might like to think about where you'd find dormice. So hedgerows, or it might be a nice leafy background. It's entirely up to you.